I'm breaking out, I'm breaking in. I just can't help this state I'm in. I'm on my way, y'all. So put your shades on, this light's so bright, it's blinding. I'm radiating love, I'm radiating love, I'm radiating love. Breaking free, I'm breaking ground. I can't explain this thing I found. The clouds have moved on, I got my groove on. This pep in my steps infectious. I'm radiating love, I'm radiating love, I'm radiating love. I've been stuck in a rut, I've been shit out of luck. I've been wondering what is up with me. And then I realized it's up to me to decide. I can just be radiating love. I'm radiating love. I'm radiating love. I'm radiating love.
Good morning, everyone. We here in our in-person center are listening to Gary Lynn Floyd and Jamie Lula, which you might hear lightly behind me. And we just want to let this song finish because it's such a beautiful song. We were so fortunate to have Jamie and Gary at our first annual Los Angeles New Thought Music Festival a couple of years ago. And so as our pre-show music here in person, listening to a little bit of them. So I'll speak over it a little bit, but this allows all the beloveds here in the room to listen to this beautiful music. Maybe you can hear it. God will fill you all around. Take a deep breath and listen to this, just the end of this song.
Out of darkness I have come. I see God in every.
I see God in everyone. So perfect. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for, I'm sure you were indulged as well, but thank you for indulging me in listening to that. I rarely can get enough of either, and most especially both Jamie Lula and Gary Lynn Floyd, who are good friends of not only this center, but all the people that you can't see that are in the room, and others who are here watching online, just as you are. So I want to remind everyone, as I do at the beginning of every service, that you are an irresistible magnet with the power to attract unto yourself everything and anything you desire. And we have to remember this, not just every week, once a week, but every day, because a lot of stuff gets in our way. And when we remember some of these simple little things that, yeah, I say them every week or every few weeks or something like that, we can reconnect to our power. We're going to talk a lot about that today, reconnecting to our power. We got a beautiful song by Reverend Barba this morning, and Reverend Gary is here. He's just sitting over there as well, and he'll speak some words of wisdom. But like we do every Sunday morning, we're going to start with looking at and talking about our statement of principles, what the New Thought Spiritual Center is all about. And by the way, if you're new to us here online, all of the beloveds here know me, but in case you're new, I'm Reverend Jay Willick, and I'm the senior minister here at the New Thought Spiritual Center. So our statement of principles, let us start with our purpose. We're going to do this a little bit out of order just because I want to highlight something. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I take that back. Let's do this in order, and then we'll go through it. So our purpose statement, why we're here, what the main reason of the New Thought Spiritual Center is this: reveal the divinity in you. That's why we're here. There's no other reason. We're here to reveal the divinity in all of us, here and now, whatever that means for you individually, for all these people individually. That's why we're here, to reveal that, to bring that out. And we do that by our vision statement, which is to vibrate at the speed of the divine. And once you're doing that, once you're vibrating at the speed of the divine, once you're getting that going, that connection going, that revelation, that revealing of the divine within you, then you can step into the mission of the New Thought Spiritual Center. And I trust your life as well, maybe not in these words, but in the feeling of these words. And that is to bust through, soar, and zoom. Now, the signs may seem like they're out of order a little bit, but that's because every month we highlight one of our statement of principles. And this month we're going to highlight, here in November, our mission statement: bust through, soar, and zoom. And you may not see it because the pedestal here is in the way, but there's a Richard Bach. I say that like it's the composer. The Richard Bach quote down here is, "To fly as fast as thought, you must begin by knowing that you have already arrived." Isn't that fabulous? That you have already arrived. That's why we use our imagination to bring forth, to use the law of attraction, or whatever you want to call that law. It's called by many names. The most common one is the law of attraction. To use that, we use our imagination. And in using our imagination, we experience all the feelings right here and now. Maybe in our mind, maybe in our head, but as we do it in our heart and throughout our whole body, then the universe, through the law of attraction, through the law of cause and effect, as we most likely call it here in our philosophy, we start to experience it in the 3D world. Up here in the 10D world, or whatever you want to call what's going on in your mind, that's one place that we bring forth by having that imagination, by already having arrived in our declaration, in our decision of that thought. We bring it forth into our lives. So that's what the New Thought Spiritual Center is basically about. And maybe I don't even say anymore. So thank you for coming. No, just kidding. We do things a little differently. We like to play around a little bit, but and have fun. But basically, we're a spiritual center, right? It's in the name. And we connect with spirit. And I find it's important, and you won't find this in very many other places. I find it's important that we take 8-9 minutes to center ourselves and bring ourselves into the serious fun of attracting into our lives that which we have decided we want to. And so in order to do that the best way, we want to center ourselves. We want to ground ourselves. And that is why during every Sunday celebration, I do a guided meditation. So for those of you online, please join us. You may eventually see a little whirling thing. I might be up in the corner somewhere, but that's because we're all, for the next 8 or 9 minutes, doing a guided meditation. Then we'll get into some music and some words of wisdom from Reverend Gary, et cetera, et cetera. All right? So right now, let's bring some energy into our bodies, and we're going to do this. So everybody take their hands, put them together. We've done this before. See, people in the room, they're already doing it. I love this thing. Now, what we want to do is do it fast. You'll feel the heat. Yes, I know there's all kinds of reasons why there's the heat, the friction, et cetera, et cetera. Now stop. Now slowly part your hands from each other. Now you feel that? I have to look that up and see what that actually is called in the science world. And in the science of mind world, that is the energy of life. That is your energy. That is God's energy. And here I am, shoulder length apart my hands are, and I still feel it. Still feel that energy. I can feel it as I bring my hands down to my sides. Place them on your lap. Put your feet on the floor, if you would, please. We're going to take a deep breath, and then we will enter into our sacred space. We will create a sacred space wherever we are. You're sitting outside, you're sitting in your living room, in the kitchen, or here with us. Let us take a deep breath together, and then we're going to hold a deep breath through your nose. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Let it out through your mouth. We're going to do this a couple more times, slowly through your nose. 3, 2, 1. Slowly out through your mouth. One more time together. 2, 1. It's at this time we enter into our sacred space. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Leave them at a soft focus if you desire. For in this sacred space, we are opening our heart and mind to awaken the highest and deepest part of our divine self. In there, we plant the seeds of our greatest adventure, whatever that is. Nurturing them with the water of faith, the soil of spirit, calling in wisdom from ancient times to quantum science and beyond. And with that preparation, we now transcend time and space into the grace, love, and power of the universe. So as we allow the energies of the planet, the energies of the universe, the frequencies of love, peace, and grace to surround us, the point where we actually feel their vibrations from the Mother Gaia coming up through our feet, from the universe coming down from what seems like the sky, but is all around us. We feel these vibrations, these frequencies, and allow them to flow into us. It is the divine, it is God. It is the power and presence of the universe. And the beauty and love and foundation of Mother Earth. that now energizes every part of our bodies. Like the rays of the sun flowing down upon us. We breathe in these energies as well as absorb them through our bodies. Today I will read to you from the Radiance Sutras. A book from many centuries ago, written in Sanskrit originally. In it, it says, holiness permeates everywhere. Senses cannot grasp it, images cannot represent it. It is totally free. Free to appear as form, free to be beyond form. Heart and body and mind in unison attend to the unimaginable. In the intercourse of unknowable and known, an awakening will be born in you as you join with that reality which you already are. So when you gaze in wonder at the stars, become enthralled. Become enthralled with the vast spaciousness between them, as space is an incomprehensible being, an invisible presence, independent, independently wealthy, infinite opportunities, without beginning or end, and always, always giving. In this universe, in this space, you are offered an infinite arena to play, explore, experience, and receive the gifts of freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to be, freedom with the power and presence and the words to embody that freedom into your life. So for the next minute or so, let us breathe in these words. Whatever idea hit you, whatever idea sparked something in you, vibrates in you. Let us take a moment with that. I have spoken in my mind. Treatment knowing the power and presence. Life, opportunities of choice are here with each one of us. This truth, this knowing has become a sacred word, a word for the universe to take and bring forth into each of your lives. That which you decide you require. So let us, in these few breaths that we end our guided meditation with, set your mind free to wander anywhere it wants, think any thought, ride any wave, search and surge in any direction. Don't let the mind rest anywhere. Keep falling forward. Keep moving forward. Keep opening up. In this way, gain entry to the bliss that is your birthright. The bliss of the silent depths, beneath the surf, beyond the stars. And always, always within your grasp. Let us all take a deep breath together and let it out. Know this sacred space never goes away, as we have called it and will call it again. Each time we call it, each time that we step into this sacred space, we bring forth more and more intentional power and presence, intentional love and grace, intentional appreciation, and our word into our lives. Let us now wiggle our fingers, wiggle our toes, come back to this room, this sacred space, bringing your sacred space with it. How fun for us. And welcome back. Yay, 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 yay. Y'all enjoy that? It was fun. I love this book. I don't know, you might not be able to see it. I don't know, can you see that? Radiance Sutras. This is a book that I bring in every once in a while, and I love it. This is the translations by a gentleman named Loren Roche, Dr. Loren Roche. 112 Gateways to the Yoga of Wonder and Delight, the Radiance Sutras. Great book. All right, so now some words of wisdom from our treasurer, from one of our board members, and part of the Great Eight, as they used to say. Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit next week. I'm going to talk about a book I've been reading next week, and we'll talk about it then. So, my friends, Reverend Gary Holtman.
I will open up this treasure chest later to read from, but for now, Reverend Jay, such a great ministry. He puts out words that allow me to take something in and then think about it and see how it settles for me. And I think that's kind of what we're doing here at the New Thought Spiritual Center, is throwing out some ideas, throwing out some things, some tidbits, and see how they fall on you, and look at them and interpret them for yourself, because that's what we have to do. We have to interpret this thing for ourselves and see what works for us. Because if we can't prove this whole teaching for ourselves, then, what's the point? And I was thinking about connecting to spirit, and I was like, oh, wait, connecting spirit? No, wait, okay. My mind's clicking away on that. Can we connect to spirit? We don't really have to, because we are spirit. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we could truly, we're never disconnected. It's just this little mind in here that plays games with us and tells us things that we've got to evaluate and decide whether we're going to accept them for ourselves as our belief, and tell us that maybe we can be separate, but there's only God and there's nothing outside of it. That's what's so cool. I love this teaching. One of my favorite things when I came into it was there was no duality, no me and a power. It's the power and me are one. What's exhausting is trying to that little mind creating the doubt in that creative power, and using our mind to support those beliefs. That's exhausting. And because we stay in the flow, it's much easier because this thing's inside us, whispering to us all the time, let go, release, surrender. And release and surrender kind of like are the same thing for me, because surrender is, I love that even more because it's just like I'm letting go. I'm just surrendering. I'm letting everything fall off me and just saying, okay, I'm here. Have your way with me. No one. I'm not going to go there. That song we used to hear at that other center. But Paramahansa Yogananda says some channels are wide and others are narrow. So let's keep our channel clear so we don't miss the wisdom flowing through it. And true peace can only be realized when we embrace our big self. So bye-bye distractions of my little mind. And yesterday I was in my little office thinking about what I was going to say. And when I said, embrace our big self, of course I thought of immediately Peter Gabriel's song, Big Time. He says, I'm on my way, I'm making it so much larger than life. The place where I come from is a small town. They think so small, they use small words, but not me. I'm bigger than that. I worked it out. I've been stretching my mouth to let those big words come right out. And my heaven will be a big heaven, and I will walk through that front door. Big time. Big, big, big. So I have a reading from the treasure chest that is called This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. And I love this book so much because basically you can just open it. Every page is quotable. And you just open it up and you find stuff like this. When thoughts of fear or discouragement assail you, turn to them quietly and say, you have no place in me. There is nothing in me that can entertain thoughts of negation or doubt. I refuse to admit them. I know that my words cast out fear and doubt. It converts fear into faith. I know there is nothing in the universe that wishes me ill. There are no negative forces operating in, around, and through me. There is but one mind, that big mind, which is my mind. The true mind within me has never received an image of doubt. The God mind within me entertains only that which is perfect. There is a pattern of perfection at the center of your being, which has never been touched by disease or misfortune. Your intellect senses this through intuition. Your imagination feels it by divine right. Your inward consciousness knows it through faith. What you are trying to do is awaken your whole being to spiritual awareness. So let's work it out. Let's hit the big time with our big mind. And let's go into the affirmation.
Once again, I got all involved, and all of a sudden it was Friday at 7, and they closed at 5, and I didn't pick up the cards. So,
Well, I like this because everybody's watching Love Actually again this year. The little scene where the guy shows up the door. Here's Jay showing up at the center
Here
here.
I am showing up.
Okay, here we go.
Pages, but here we go.
Okay, let's read this together. I release the infinite opportunities of life to gravitate to me in a calm flow of success. The ultimate words of love to flow in and out of my heart with ease. The power of light to guide my choices. The power of the Big Bang to propel me. And the feeling of peace, the sights and sounds of beauty, and a communion with joy to be my way showers. Very good. I missed that part.
I might have.
I'm glad you brought it.
I brought it. Yay!
Yay.
So
All right.
before he steps into some treatment work, I just want to remind people, this is, those online saw it on the slide, but it's also there in the description so that you can use it every week. And for those here, since I forgot the cards, but you'll get them next week with the other cards, because some people collect them like baseball cards. You can always find it on Facebook and stuff like that. So,
All right.
Thank you so
Thanks, Jay. Thanks. Let's take a minute to just breathe in. Let's allow ourselves to connect to that big mind, that spiritual center that is right within us, that is not separate in any way from the universe. It is one with the universe. It is one with that creative power, that creative intelligence, all that wisdom, every idea that is floating out in the universe is there right for us right now to just breathe in, take in. And I know as our individual creative intelligence then decides and allows that flow, it easily just lets those things that support our highest good pass through us out into our experience, into the form of beautiful relationships, into the form of peace in our lives, into the form of peace in our relationships with all those in the world that we share this world with, in the form of bank accounts that are overflowing, in the form of perfect health through these bodies. I know that these things and more are coming right through us. It's a big heaven we live in. It's a big heaven we live in. It's a wonderful banquet. And we just allow our plates to fill up with all that is to offer that makes each of us happy. Our plate may look different, but it's the plate that brings us joy that we put in front of us. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this mind that's able to work with this life perfectly and create a better life. As together we say, and so it is.
Yeah. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. That reminds me of that song. I love that song. Okay, so we have a song. We have a song, live song. Let me set this up a little bit first. And where are you? There you are. Boom, everybody is up and ready. So now, sorry to turn my back to you. So now I am so happy to be able to bring to you this great song sung by this great, fabulous singer that we are fortunate to, is that good? That we are fortunate to have in our community. So my friends, Barbara Oltman.
All right. Let me run through a field in the night. Let me lift from the ground till my soul is in flight. Let me sway like the shade of a tree. Let me swirl like a cloud in a storm on the sea. Wish me on my way through the dawning day. I wanna flow, wanna rise, wanna spill, wanna grow in a grove on the side of a hill. I don't care if the train runs late, if the checks don't clear, if the house blows down. I'll be off where the weeds run wild, where the seeds fall far from this earthbound town. Then I'll start to soar. Watch me rain till I pour. I'll catch a ship that'll sail me astray. Get caught in a wind, I'll just have to obey till I'm flying away. Let me leave behind all the clouds in my mind. I wanna wake without wondering why, finding myself in a burst for the sky. I'll just roll. Let me lose all control. I wanna float like a wish in a well, free as the sound of the sea in a shell. I don't know, but maybe I'm just a fool. I should keep to the ground. I should stay where I'm at. Maybe everyone has hunger like this, and the hunger will pass, but I can't think like that. All I know is somewhere through a clearing, there's a flickering of sunlight on a river long and wide. And I have such a river inside. Let me run through a field in the night. Let me lift from the ground till my soul is in flight. Let me sway like the shade of a tree. Let me swirl like a cloud in a storm on the sea. Wish me on my way through the dawning day. I wanna flow, wanna rise, wanna spill, wanna grow on the side of a hill, wanna shift like a wave rolling on, wanna drift from the path I've been traveling upon before I am gone.
Barbara.
Thank you.
Wow, Wowie, that is. I'll take a moment. Fortunately, I have a moment while I open my iPad, because songs like that, sung like that, knock me out and make me want to do nothing but sing. So I want to start off with a question today. When you look at your life, from what perspective do you look at it? Now remember what Barbara just saying. So what perspective do you look at? The past, the now, the future, your disappointments, your successes, when you cried, when you laughed, when you loved, when love was unrequited maybe. Through Prospero in The Tempest, Shakespeare tells us we are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. In other words, he says life is an illusion, a fiction that we bring to reality. When I was reading that, I thought, I kind of like that. Because a lot of that is what I teach, because I teach this whole idea of this holistic use of what I call the divine matrix. And when you're using it, you're using your imagination and your intuition through that which you love, and the logic of knowing that this teaching works. And so for a time, it is a fiction in our mind. It is a fiction we create. Because that's where our greatest adventures, that's where our greatest parts of this journey begin, in our mind, as fictions in our mind. And then these fictions become our happiness, our experiences. And when sometimes things are running around in your head like a whirling dervish of bad mental habits or actions, and we have these tools that we teach that Gary talked about to alleviate them, to replace the fictions that have shown up in our lives, like the Scarlet Letter or stories like that might relate in our lives, in our experiences, with experiences like we read, like fictions of The Alchemist or Call of the Wild, adventure and excitement and love, and beauty and attachment and communion. When we change the frequency of our lives, we change it from a fiction like Madame Butterfly to the songs of Jamie Lula. Things are perfect where spirit is in the house. Last week I mentioned looking up. Not at the sky, of course, although that's nice, or to a place called heaven, but metaphorically to the highest we can be, the highest we can choose to be, because it is a choice. We've been taught to look around, to decide by looking around at other people, at our community, at our family, at our friends, and taking that information to tell us who we are and what our purpose is and what we can do with our lives. And people come here, watch us, read New Thought books, listen to New Thought music, take this idea, this truth of oneness, that sacred connection that we all have, the ancestors that have gone before us. And we use that to figure out who we are, what our purpose is. And that can change through our lives. That's okay. There's also the act of looking in that people do. We start with our inner self, and everything's there anyway, right? So we look in, and sometimes as we look in, that gets to be tough and not fun. And we're doing some internal surveillance work, especially if you've been here, been around the world for a time. Things add up, and there's stuff that's been hiding for a decade or two. And in that, we have a discovery of who and what we are, and we get in touch with our deepest desires that way, and we can figure out the new path we want to follow, what allies we want to attract into our lives. And then we do the mental work that we learned here using the spiritual tools and other tools and the physical action to achieve that, to succeed in that idea. But sometimes those two reference points, looking in, looking out, don't add up to enough success in our lives. Looking in and around can even lead us sometimes into a rut, into what we thought life wasn't going to be. Because there are these habits. We have these habits of belief, and they're often in conflict with our new desires, our new requirements, and our new declarations, journeys, and adventures. And it is then, and I'm sure we all have had that moment or have had that moment many times, it is then changes need to be made. Christian Larson was a New Thought author. He wrote about a dozen books in the early 1900s, and he wrote a book called The Pathway of Roses. And in it, he wrote, "This is our purpose, to live the purest, the largest, the fairest, the most useful, the most beautiful, and the most spiritual life possible, just for today. To be our very best here and now, with no desire to outshine some other being, but simply to be all that we are in divine being now." In other words, to reveal the divinity in ourselves. We are divine beings living a human experience, of course. That's nothing new. That's no new revelation here. I bring it up all the time. But I bring it up to remind you to truly look in and discover your deepest desires are going to step up when you commune with your highest self, when you connect with that which designed you, which designed all of us, which informs us with only truth, which illuminates the hidden and unknown and electrifies the authenticity that is within you all the time, that we tend to hide. Looking up doesn't mean we never look in again or squelch or repress our desires or what's happening in our community or what we can share in our community. It means we look to God to inform, direct, and reshape our thoughts and feelings. Looking up is the same thing as looking within. Within, not looking in, looking within. Looking in could be in therapy, in this ritual or that ritual, or in spiritual practice. Looking within is a spiritual practice. Within our deepest connection to the universe, where we can reignite our world by not only following our heart, but by directing our heart. Sometimes we think we're experts at turning away from the appearance of any situation because we are taught that. We're taught that in this teaching, in this philosophy, turn away from the condition and working it out in our mind and replacing that with and focusing on the positive, the optimal, the truth. But we must go further than that logic, as well as that teaching, further than the history of our lives, further than even past the human knowledge that we have, and lift our consciousness out of this material scene, this material world, to see it from a place of spiritual truth so that we can reveal that truth in our physical space. To be like a drone surveilling our life without emotion, without reaction, or any of the stuff from our history. But I want us to go further than the commonly called 30,000 feet. Have you heard that? It's very common in the business world. Gary's nodding his head. In the business world, they always have these meetings, and the supervisor, well, my job, and I hope you all join me, is to look at this whole situation from 30,000 feet. The whole big Megillah, as they would say. But I want us to go beyond 30,000 feet. I want us to go to infinity and beyond, to the view from God's eye. The title of this talk is, Hey, Look Up Here. And the here in Hey, Look Up Here is the view at infinity feet, God's view. When we think, feel, breathe, live, and be from the higher consciousness, we reflect the timeless wisdom of the ages on a journey that's always at play and never the final destination. I need to remember that sometimes, boy. Find myself in a rut for one thing or another in my life, and I have to remember this is not the end. This is not the final destination. This is part of the journey. And take it. And if I can't get the human stuff out of the way, then step into the higher stuff. Our spiritual evolution is always on tap, always ready. And everything we experience, the pity parties, the supposedly negative things in our lives, they're always a step on an ever-expanding journey. And when we remember that, and when we connect and commune with our highest self, and you can call it God or whatever you want to call it, that's when we can really get out of that. That's when we can more easily smooth through the pity party times as we breathe in the view from the universal perspective. And we appreciate the expansiveness of our growth and development. We're truly then living the truth. Now I have another quote here from Eric Butterworth in the very famous book, Spiritual Economics. And he said, it is a powerful insight to live by. Always get the view from the top. Before you react in negativity to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift up your eyes onto the hills. Contemplate all the changing, challenging experiences from the highest possible point of view. Regardless of the appearances of conflicts or limitations, see all things from the awareness of the allness of life and the ever-presence of substance. From the view from the top, you will see things creatively, leading to an attitude that is constructive and optimistic. Now, I call this month Release It. November is commonly used to be a call for gratitude and appreciation. My new word this year, using appreciation versus, not versus, but in addition to gratitude and thankfulness. And in doing so, when we usually use November to talk about thankfulness and gratitude, we do it to reflect also on the journey so far this year. To objectively review the challenges, the triumphs, the opportunities, et cetera, of what's happened in our journey of this year. And the inevitable growth of all of us having experienced our path of awakening. And if you remember, our 2021 theme is awakening. This week, let us take a moment, or maybe 10 moments, to appreciate and honor what has occurred during this year's part of the journey. In all things, for all things, no matter what, express gratitude for all of it. This is that higher view of things. This is that higher view, especially of the things we label as negative in our lives. When we take that higher view, then we can see them more as a part of the story, a part of the fiction. This lifts our consciousness even higher and gives us a clearer perspective of the spiritual truth as the universe sees it. Not as successes, not as failures, but as a journey, a path, moments on a trail to enlightenment, a trail to transcendence, a trail to moving forward in our lives, our careers, our retirement, our marriages, our life in this or that community that we take part in. Religious science. Now, religious science is the name of this teaching. I've spoken about it before, as everyone in this room knows about it, but for those new out there, the book that a lot of this teaching is based on is The Science of Mind, or The Science of Mind and Spirit, and that book is based on ancient wisdom, as well as the thoughts and the conglomeration of this ancient wisdom by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And he called this wisdom, beyond the book, when people gathered, he called this wisdom that he had conglomerated into this teaching religious science, because it was religious in a spiritual way, but it was based on science. Not only science, especially of the times, but as we are seeing, the science of modern times is also proving the ideas that you find in this teaching and other teachings similar to this and the New Thought movement. Anyway, religious science teaches us this. The ultimate goal of life does not mean that we shall ever arrive at a spiritual destination where everything remains static and inactive, even if it's wonderful. Why? Because we always want to bust through, soar, and zoom, even if things are fabulous. Yes? Yes? Goes on to say that which to our present understanding seems an ultimate goal will, when attained, be but the starting point for a new and further evolution. So I get this, I'm the millionaire, but now I'm going to be the 10 millionaire. I get this, I find the mate in my life, and we decide to be life partners, whatever that means to you, marriage or whatever ceremony you want to do or not do. But then not only that, we're going to make it grow, and we're going to grow together in this evolution, in this transcendence of life as a X-year-old to life as an XYZ-year-old. All those things and everything in between and around it. Be but the starting point for new and further evolution. We believe in an eternal upward spiral of existence. Now, how do you lift your eyes to the truth? How do you do that? I told you all to do that, but how do you do that? We always go back to Emerson, don't we? Emerson, self-reliance. He said, now, I'll explain after I say the quote. He says, prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. It is the soliloquy of a beholding and jubilant soul. It is the Spirit of God pronouncing its works good. Change the word prayer if you want. Doesn't have to be prayer. You can call it whatever you want. You can do it how you want. Some people in contemplation go into what other people might call prayer. Who cares? You want to call it contemplation? Call it contemplation. God doesn't care. But when it becomes a soliloquy, whatever that is, even in meditation, even if you're using a mantra type Vedic meditation and you're repeating that Sanskrit word over and over again, it is a word, it is a soliloquy, it is a connection and communion with your highest self, with the universe, with the power and presence, with God, whatever you want to call it, beholding and being jubilant about that word and what that means to you. And when you do that, you are pronouncing your work good. And when you pronounce that work good, when you believe that work good, then like Richard Bach wrote, to fly as fast as thought, you must begin by knowing that you have already arrived. You've already arrived because you're using the most powerful and the highest power there is. It is there where a difficult situation will fade as you see the truth. It is there when moments when you lifted yourself out of the material world will be celebrated and enhanced. It is there, no matter what it is, we can view it from a higher place in consciousness. To be in the world, but not of it. To be beyond what's going on. To spend less and less time affected by this world and challenges that might show up for whatever reason, and more time affecting how we are in the world, how we're going to respond to anything good, bad, or indifferent. Keeping the concept of living in first class as the covenant. We should all be in first class. Whether it's on an airplane or in your home, you get to decide what first class means. You don't have to have first class. You don't have to have the gold-plated this, that, or the other. That's not first class. That's some BS version of first class. You get to decide what first class means in your life, because God's view is a first class view, higher and more powerful than anything that is set at a 30,000-foot view. And that view is your divine self view. And it has a view where the qualities and quantities of wealth, love, beauty, and wisdom shine. And there are more, it is more even more fantastical than a Xanadu or a Shangri-La or a Camelot could ever contain. Our task, no matter the situation, condition, circumstance, repeated, new, no matter what, is to look beyond the experiences, look beyond the effects, look beyond the good, bad, or ugly of it, and seek the spiritual proof of whatever it is that is before us. And in those moments when it seems impossible to do that, when you just can't get yourself out of the pity party, and I've felt that before, and sometimes it feels, oh, this is horrible to say, but sometimes it feels so normal to sit in the pity party. And it's so difficult because it's an ugly, comfortable thing. Well, there's little things we can do to help us. And here's one. It's a poem by William Wordsworth. It's called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. And you can find this online. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Finally, as Shakespeare told us in Hamlet, or actually as Hamlet told us in Hamlet, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Lift your eyes, lift your nose, lift your ears, lift your mouth, your mind, your thoughts, your attitudes, your perspectives, your feelings, all that you have, your entire beingness, your wholeness, to the highest and grandest view of life, God's view. And then you can bust through, soar, and zoom no matter what. Thank you so much. Namaste. Let us place our hands on our hearts and together declare our love offering blessing. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of my spiritual center, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you for your blessed love offerings. See what happens. Are we back? Hi, we're back. Thank you for the $450,000 that you all sent. It's right here. I get it. I know what's going on. Thank you so much. So we're going to run some credits for those of you online. You can see where some of the information for our videos, etc., showed up on. And of course, we want to thank the Reverend Gary Oltman for his always fabulous wisdom. We are so fortunate that we have him, and Reverend Barbara for her. I always just call her Barbara when she's singing, and then Reverend Barbara when she's like next week, giving us her words of wisdom and talk on a theme. So we thank you. It's such a great song and the perfect voice for it. Of course, we want to thank Steve Apperson, which those online can't see because he's behind the camera shaking his head like, yeah, whatever. And I didn't hear you. What'd you say? And so, and then we're going to do social media. Oh, for you, those of you online, watch this. So they're going to watch social media. So, So people are back, and there you go. Okay. So we're back, and we thank you for liking us and subscribing to whatever and wherever and hearting and all that kind of stuff you do on social media. I'm on TikTok, the Affirmative Incantation. If any of you are on TikTok in the room, I kind of doubt it, but you never know. I also do the Affirmative Incantation on TikTok on the New Thought Guy. I don't know if they call them pages on TikTok, whatever. Anyway, so as well on TikTok, join us. That'll be fun. So let us now end our gathering together with a spiritual mind treatment, and then we can go out into the world and just take one idea. I know I bring a lot on my talks. Don't think I'm not aware that my talks are full of a lot of information. I'm breaking rules when I do talks this way, because you're only supposed to bring one, maybe two ideas for people to bring home and play with. And when you come here on Sundays, whether live or in line, I'm giving you lots of stuff. Pick one, because the other ones, they're going to come back around. You know? If any of you have ever been on any of those retreats from work or something for a weekend, or business retreats, if you've been on enough of them, or any spiritual type or self-improvement type retreats, if you've been on enough of them, you hear the same information eventually, just in a different way, in her way, his way, their way. So that's why I do that. You don't have to remember everything I said. Remember whatever attaches to you, whatever, then that works. And if it's something that Gary said, or if it's something in the song, whether it's Barbara singing or any, then that's what you take. That's what you take home, and that's what you work with throughout your week. And all those things will add up. Will add up for you. So let us close our eyes, take a deep breath together, as we always do before we get into affirmative prayer. Knowing that God is, as we breathe in and as we exhale through our mouths, I am. Yes, there. Yes, he, she, they, all of us. There is one mind. You can call it whatever you want. That mind is within each and every one of us. That mind individualizes itself within each and every one of us. So exciting to remember this. To remember that as we walk, God walks. As we see and experience things, so does God. And in this connection, we have the power and presence to bring forth into our lives that which we want to attract. So this spiritual mind treatment, this affirmative prayer brings forth not only the idea of our power and use of this law, the spiritual law, but doing so in a way that is only constructive, where we only focus on that which we are having to reveal in our lives. Because we have a have attitude, we have an have idea, we have a have thought process. We have this having because we connect and commune with that which is within us, the power and presence of the universe, the power and presence of choice, the power and presence of revealing into our lives that which we decide to declare is going to show up in our lives. And for each and every one of you, I now declare a constructive, loving, graceful, beautiful, wise, rich, healthy life of experiences, of journeys, of adventures. This is the truth. We are, each of us, the power and presence of the law of infinite possibilities. And we tap into it right now with gratitude and appreciation. I release this word. I end this service as together we say, and so it is. Hallelujah. Amen. Amen. Ashe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here in person and for all of you out there for joining us. Thank you so much. Namaste. Yay.
Good morning, everybody. A little rock and roll edge for your Sunday morning.
May I step away?
Go back from
It's time to really look around you, realize exactly how and what you feel. Remind yourself how you think is what will guide you to hold your peace with the strength of living the truth. It's time to pay real close attention, realize the full cause and effect. Use your mind to ease your apprehensions and have the wherewithal to be the strength of the truth. The strength of the truth. far to go. We can't find all the answers and solutions as we ride the evolution of living the strength of the truth. The strength of the truth. We can rejoice. We always have choice. So lift up your voice. Heart that makes the loudest sound. It's time to really look around you, realize exactly how and what you feel. Remind yourself